Why did I decide to go to South Africa? There was a lot of reasons I wanted to go. I've never traveled, I've never flown. I've always been involved with like outreach stuff through Girl Scouts and 4-H. Like I like helping kids. It's a completely different culture over there. We visited 6 schools while we were there. We went to 3 creches, which are basically like preschools, and then we went to 3 of the primary schools. Typically they go through about 5th grade, and then after that it's more rare for the kids to be in school. In the States, it's required by law that you attend school. And there, a lot of the children don't ever get to attend school. They might want to, they just aren't able to. Some of the schools you have to pay. Granted, it's not, a large tuition like it is in the States, but it's something to help run the school, or if it's a school that requires uniforms. Not all of the townships are located near schools. And also, one of the differences with the schools there, they are not necessarily by location, where you have the school districts here, everybody from Youngstown goes to the Youngstown City schools, where there it's by language, because South Africa has 11 official languages. So you might live next door to school A, but you might speak language B. So you have to travel to your school so you can get educated in the language that you speak. In primary schools, the kids had sort of uniforms, and even if they had, their nice pants and their proper shirts, some of them still didn't have shoes on, which is different than something you see here. Communication was different. Some of the older kids, I want to say in 2nd grade or so, they start learning more of the English, but even still, it's more broken English. But the younger kids, it's more or less just with a smile. That's one of the biggest things I tell people, like smiling is a universal language. If you go up to this little kid, they don't know you, but if you have a balloon for them and you're smiling, eventually you work something out. So it's kind of, a lot of gestures and looking happy, and because there's a big language barrier. Like a diamond in the sky, twinkle, twinkle, love the star, how I wonder what you are. We saw so many kids from every different walk of life in school. We had children who were from crawling age all the way up to 5th and 6th grade. So we kind of got a diverse look at the different children that were in the schooling system. One of my favorites was at one of the farm schools. There were only maybe a dozen kids there. It was very small, very off the beaten path, and a lot of the kids there had, their clothes were more dirty. You could tell they'd probably been wearing them for a couple days. But we had stickers for the kids, and they don't have stickers and balloons there, so we took them. They really like playing with them. But it's interesting because you give them a balloon and you have to blow it up because they don't know how, and they don't know how to tie it, and then they don't know how to volley the balloon back and forth like kids here take for granted. And I went to give a little girl a sticker with her balloon, and I held my finger out with the sticker on it, and meant for her to, take the sticker and put it on your shirt or your balloon or anything, and she didn't know what to do with it. She didn't know to take it off my finger, and she didn't realize it was sticky. So I had to sit there and put, take a sticker off and put it on her shirt and keep going, and eventually she caught on that, they would stick to things. So that was kind of cool because you could see she was realizing the concept behind it.
Welcome to Cape Town. Come on, join the party. And your taxi. Cape Town #1. Welcome.
We went to Kruger Park, which is unlike anything you will ever experience in your entire life. Kruger Park is about the size of the state of Delaware. But basically, you go in the main gate and you are driving into the Lion King. Everything's running wild. I think the first thing we saw when we pulled in the gate was some elephants. and then you go through and you drive in your van or your car. You have to stay in your vehicle unless you're in the partitioned off areas that are safe to get out of your vehicle. But we spent all day from typically 6 in the morning to 6 at night when they close the gates, driving around and seeing the Lion King up close and personal. The gates for the camps closed at 5 o'clock, and if you were not inside the camp by that time, you were locked outside to be with whatever's in the wild all night. So it was always important to get back in time, and you also had to allow for time in case you encountered, a herd of elephants who were blocking the road. You had to wait for them to pass. But then you'd stay in camp at night and you could hear the animals, some hippos down on the river, or we had buffalo outside our camp one night. So that was kind of cool.
Welcome to Cape Town. Come on, join the party. Put on your dancing. Cape Town #1.
Some of the first pictures that you're going to see are from the schools that we visited. We took school supplies to 6 different schools, and we also took stickers and balloons to hand out to the kids. So there's a couple pictures of the kids here with their stickers. They put them all over. They weren't just on their shirts, they were on the balloons, on their faces. They stuck them anywhere they could. This is from one of the creche, one of the preschools. He was one of the cutest little boys. And this is the school supplies we donated to his school. We had tons of crayons because they were the preschoolers. We had bags that were left over from something at YSU that they donated. We got soccer balls and other playground balls for the kids. Somebody donated sidewalk chalk. We have bandanas that were from YSU that kind of got tossed to the side, and we figured they would use them for something. This is one of the houses that you would see in the townships. It obviously looks nicer than the majority of the houses, and it's because it's a government house. There's an application process that they have to go through to be approved, just like you would in the States. So it's a lot nicer than the typical houses. Still very small though, typically 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. This is a picture from the preschool that got the playground equipment from 2 years ago. It was more of like an after-school daycare by the time we got there, and this was some of the kids just kind of hanging out. We got to play with them for a little bit. This is at Brenton-on-the-Sea. It was one of the places we stayed in a cottage. We got to hike on the side of basically a sandy mountain. We also went shopping at the market, which is a little different than shopping at the mall here. You have all these different booths set up by people selling anything imaginable. And we had lunch. This is Joe from Cape Town and his band. And that's Lindsay, who went on the trip with us. Must have picked us out as being Americans and out of place.
Welcome to America. Hello, America.
So he sat up in front of us and started singing and performing for us, which was really entertaining. And he sang about America in his song. This is the Nizna Library. Nizna is the town, and their library this is pretty much the whole library that you can see here. It's very small. This isn't a school library, this is the town library. So everyone in the neighborhood, this is all they have for books. They're in desperate need of books, particularly nonfiction. This is the playground equipment that was purchased 2 years ago by Project Learning Around the World. And this is one of the other schools we went to. The kids saw us and kind of turned around and headed back, and they swarmed our van. I had to break out into my teacher voice and tell them to stop pushing the kids. Some of the older kids would push the little kids out of the way, all for a balloon and a sticker, which is something you wouldn't see here. So it just shows you how something so small can mean so much.